Number one, Gary, 1 month after Fed cuts, core CPI rises.
So look, Rob, you bring up the key issue at the beginning, which is, are we going to be petty and say, I told you so? And the answer is yes. Yes, we are. We are going to be petty. So we got the September CPI, that is the consumer price index. It is what the metric that people typically talk about when they talk about inflation. When people say inflation is up 3%, they're typically talking about the CPI. So the September CPI was 2.4%. That was right around last month's 2.5% and above expectations of 2.3. The core CPI, which excludes food and energy, was up 3.3%. The reason that matters is because it was above last month's 3.2%. So it rose. Now, what we warned about was that the Fed that we're making the Arthur Burns mistake when they cut by 50 basis points last month. Arthur Burns was the chairman of the Federal Reserve back in the 1960s and 70s. He let up on the Fed funds rate too early. Inflation was coming down, but they didn't have it fully under control. He cut the rate under threat from then President Lyndon Johnson, and we got the roaring inflation back from the late 1970s. This is exactly what the Fed has done here. They cut too early, and listen, did the CPI rise immediately because the Fed cut the Fed funds rate? No, it doesn't happen that fast. But the point is, they didn't have it under control.
Gary, we've been talking to and recognizing weakness in the productivity of the private economy. We've also talked over and over again about excessive government stimulus and spending. Seems like these have led to the misleading GDP reports and the additional inflation that we're seeing here now.
You've got it, Rob. All of those things are happening. So, for people who aren't following the macro news on a daily basis, what's happening is the government is spending far too much. It's spraying trillions of dollars of stimulus into the economy. And because of that, nothing the Fed does really matters. We're all focused on the Federal Reserve, but the thing that we need to bring down inflation is actually for Congress to spend less. So for the last 3 years, basically, the Fed has been raising interest rates or held interest rates stable for the prior year. And the idea was that by doing that, they would bring inflation down. Well, great, but Congress has been overspending. And that trillions of dollars of stimulus every year has kept inflation high. It's also pushing out the productive real economy, right? So more of the economy is being controlled by the government, which is wasteful in its spending. And small businesses are really suffering right now. And so, this is really a congressional problem. Everybody's looking at the Fed, they're looking in the wrong place.
Gary, moving to thing number two, because I think they are aligned, or I know they are when we're talking Fed cut.